I've got in the horticultural high school horticultural department. We've completed the disabled blues base. Our first participant this Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm in my throne. Like my own throne. There you go. Oh, hang on. It's recording already. It's just the camera's not on.
Should be getting better at this.
I'll let you off. I'm just as bad.
What are you going to ask the officers to sort of introduce themselves?
Yeah, I'll put them on first so they can escape quickly.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Save them sitting through all
the rest of whatever's going on. Yeah, sure. Have you got a few people joining us? Oh, there's Chick trying to join us.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Chick, yes.
There's my camera. Mr. Anderson, good evening to you. Got through eventually. Oh dear, I'm always a bit wary about some of these things, about having to click on umpteen buttons. But anyway, we've got through. That's the most important thing. That's good. Excellent.
Get there in the end.
Absolutely. That's fine.
I've got a ghost in the background.
All right.
If you see a little ghost popping up now and again, that's Manco. He's in the community council as well. So
I see. Okay.
But because I'm hiding the fact that my dirty washing's in the background, we've got a background on, so it makes him disappear.
I see. Okay. That's fine. So how's things otherwise? Still, you're having your meetings okay? You're meeting up every month and think business is as good as it can be in the circumstances with meetings?
Yeah, we're plodding on. It's just the online meeting sort of excludes the older ones who don't have internet and phones and stuff.
Right.
Those individuals still exist, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We couldn't get them to get a mobile or anything. They just refused. So yeah, we just have to plod on and take bits of paper to them now and again.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but we'll get back to the meeting folks in a couple of months.
Yeah, there's still quite a few people like that out there, and certainly when we did the local plan, we tried our best to get things in the press. A lot of people phoned us up who didn't have access to the internet, and what we did was, if there was a particular part of the plan they were interested in, we just photocopied the stuff for them and sent it to their home addresses. So it's not ideal, and of course the fact we weren't able to go out to public meetings and what have you wasn't perfect, but we couldn't really do an awful lot in the circumstances.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just have to plod on and he's answering his phone. I have to keep watching this thing to let other people in.
Okay.
No, I can't work this.
And are you recording the whole meeting, James?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I will be. From SBC, but we only have one. Oh, Tom's iPad. That could be Tom Nisbet. We'll see what happens. Are you okay to give your talk without the other officers here?
Yeah, well, I can certainly talk about the local plan, which is, I think, the way it's on the agenda. So I'm very happy to say something about that. The only thing is, we're going to be joined by two people, actually. Stephen Rennick, who's the project manager for the council, and John Butcher from our education department, and they were going to come in at the end just to say something about future consultations, about future development or proposals for the site. So I'm not able to talk about that one, unfortunately, but I don't really know much about that. That's not really my side of things. But I can certainly talk about the local plan, and if they happen to join us in due course, then that would be fine.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Many thanks for inviting me along here tonight. My name's Charles Johnson, and I'm in charge of the local plan team. So I was going to split this into three parts. The first part really to talk about the local plan in terms of the background, where we are now, what happens next, and then go on to say something about the former high school site itself, which I think is probably the matter of most interest to the Community Council. I was then going to pass on to Stephen and John, who are going to say, excuse me, say a few words about the future development proposals for the site and a consultation that will soon be taking place, but they don't appear to have managed to join us yet. I know they know about it because I spoke to them before. So it might take me 5 minutes to go through this, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end. So in the first instance, just in terms of the local plan, we've got a statutory requirement to produce a local plan. And for those of you who don't know, the local plan must set out detailed policies and proposals to guide development and land use to inform and help planning decisions. So what we mean by that is when planning applications come in for a multitude of proposals, we've got policies in place, criteria in place to test them. Now we have to produce our plans on a 5-year cycle. And the current plan we've got at the moment, our adopted plan, is in May 2016. So that's the one we're still working off. Now, people always say to me, why does it take so long to produce a plan? Well, we actually started this one 4 years ago. And the reason it takes so long is there's a lot of different stages we have to go through. We have to have preparation, consultation, a draft, a consultation, and so on and so forth. The process started with a thing called a call for sites. And that was basically us asking people to put forward sites for consideration in the plan. There were 250 sites came forward, and we looked at those and put forward the ones we felt were appropriate. I think it's important to say as well that throughout the process, we have a number of public exhibitions and workshops across the region. And we started off in 2017 and we came to Eyemouth amongst many other places. And what we really said is, look, we're starting a new local plan. What are some of the issues? What do you want us to take on board? And we produced a document called a main issues report in 2018. It was the tail end of 2018. And again, we had a consultation on that. And we went around the region. And again, we went to Eyemouth and we had an exhibition in the co-op in the afternoon in the main street. And then we had a workshop in the community centre at night. And feeding on from all the comments we got from that, we prepared this thing called the Proposed Local Development Plan. And the Proposed Local Development Plan is the plan that we have recently consulted on. The consultation started on the 2nd of November and it expired on the 25th of January. I must say there's been no changes, no major changes in Eyemouth at all, unlike other places where there's new allocations and quite a number of amendments. Obviously, due to the pandemic, the consultation's largely been done online, as has been the case with other authorities too. And what that's involved is over 400 letters and emails to a number of interested parties, including obviously community councils, 6,500 neighbour notifications. These are everyone who's within 20 metres of an allocated site, a proposed allocated site, gets informed about that. We've had press releases, we've had a dedicated web page. We wrote to all community councils again in December, just reminding them that the consultation closed on the 25th of January. And as a result of that consultation, during that period, we've had a lot of inquiries and queries, phones, emails about questions about the plan. We've been invited to a number of Teams and Zoom meetings as well with groups of bodies just to explain it. And this is the bit that I think is the critical part, and maybe I'm missing the point here, but what we've put in the proposed plan in terms of the former high school site is what we've had in the last two plans. Basically, the site for the former high school was allocated for redevelopment into the 2011 adopted plan. It's in the 2016 plan, which is the one we currently work off, and indeed it's in the proposed plan as well. So there's been no changes at all to that allocation. It's exactly as it was. So in terms of where we go now, my planning officers are working through all the objections to the plan right across the region, and ultimately all objections go to an independent body from the Scottish Government, and they'll make a decision as to the fate of the plan. And I'm kind of expecting a decision this summer of next year. It's a long way away yet. I think we've had 24 objections to the former high school site. Now, this is where I'm possibly need a wee bit of guidance here, but I believe that perhaps the reason for the objections is probably on the back of the plans that the Berwickshire Housing Association put in. It wasn't a formal application, but it obviously proposed some housing next to the houses in Victoria Road. And perhaps that's maybe where people are thinking the local plan has changed. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong on that, but you can ask that question at the end. But anyway, these objections will go to examination, and the Scottish Government will decide the fate of that. Just in terms of the former high school site as well, there was a planning brief for the redevelopment of the site was done in 2010. The planning briefs are basically guidance notes that we prepare for a number of sites across the region. And they're really for any interested developer to take on board things that are really important to develop the site. Now, I was actually involved in the preparation of that going away back. And I remember coming to Eyemouth twice with one of my colleagues and Jason Headley, who's in charge of parks. The second one being on a Saturday morning, I remember, at the high school itself. Now, the only problem with the brief's online, incidentally, it's still there. Anyone can access it whenever they want. The brief, of course, can get a bit out of date. And that's really in terms of some of the policy titles and officer contacts. But for me, this is the critical bit, in my opinion. The general parameters remain the same in what we call the development vision. And that remains the case that the open space that was shown on the kind of eastern side of the site, that's next to the houses in Victoria Road, was to be retained as an open space. And that position has not changed. So what that means is that if anybody comes forward with a planning application, they must use the planning brief and the local plan allocation as a starting point. And if they're going to deviate from that in any shape or form, then obviously they must put forward a case as to why they feel that their plan can be supported and why they've amended what is in the local plan. So I would just say, Mr. Anderson, that in summary, the allocation in the local plan remains as it's been for the last 10 years. So that's kind of my position from the local plan side of things. And I've got the plans here if anybody wanted me to hold them up and show you. So hopefully that gives you a kind of an idea of where we've come, where we're going, and a wee bit about the former high school site. And as I say, I'm very happy to take any questions from the floor.
Right. Thank you very much for that. What I'm going to do is what I'm not supposed to do. I'm going to let the public ask questions, but because there's quite a few of you, I might have to be a referee. So if everybody could, if we just take our time, and I'll work my way around the screen, get to you all. I'll start off with anybody for the Community Council if you want to ask anything first. Right, we'll go straight into Dixie then.
Right, thank you, James. So, Charles, you've given us a good outline of where everything stands with the local development plan. To be honest, most of the things you've said, we're fully aware of that the area that we're talking about has been shown as a redevelopment area since, well, certainly we've been aware of it since the 2016 Local Development Plan 1. We are more aware of it in Local Development Plan 2 because some of the residents, and I have to say not all of them, that are adjacent to that site were informed through a letter, as you say. I live, probably couldn't be closer to the eastern part. My wall's right onto there. I live in Victoria Road, and I didn't receive a letter. And I know a lot of people who didn't as well. So, I'm just letting you know that wasn't very well done. Anyhow, we were made aware of it from other people, and we all talked about it and met about it and spoke about it. And before the end of January, we sent emails, and of course you'll have seen those. And our main issue is to just be aware that anything that's been proposed to be redeveloped in the area of the former high school playing fields, it's the only really good area of green space in the town. We've put all this in your email, so you'll have seen all our objections. I know you say that that's been like that since 2011. We're fully aware of that. We have been talking about it, but we've never formally put in you know, a proper objection to this. And I realise we're pretty late at the table in bringing to that. Really, that shouldn't matter. The fact remains, there's an opportunity now to try and see, especially with what's been happening this last year with COVID and people needing these kind of areas. We have also seen the opportunity that the proposed destination park that Eyemouth's going to get could be cited there, and I'm aware that that has to go to public consultation as well. If that was cited there, there's a super opportunity to make a proper park area round about that in the former high school site. And I know it all needs to go with what's going to happen with the primary school, but we need to let you know that that area we feel should be redesignated as green space, because Eyemouth is very, very poorly represented with green space. The ones that are there, and it's in everyone's emails, are, you know, parts of old cemeteries, river walks that are full of trees and woods. There's no really good green space. And, you know, we've got all the documents from the local development plan too, which shows you the green spaces in every other border town. And Eyemouth is just poorly served with that. So that's the reason we're wanting to talk to you about this tonight.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Scott. I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, first and foremost, I must apologise for the neighbour notifications. I mean, you know, with the best of we've got a GIS team that do all this and they identify the properties within the 25 metres. It's actually 20 metres is the distance, but we did 25 just to make sure we didn't miss anyone. So I can only genuinely apologise if people haven't received something. I'm really sorry to hear that. I think just to be clear in my mind, in light of what you're saying, so the allocation that's in the local plan, the question isn't really, or the issue isn't really the fact that perhaps Berwickshire Housing came forward with housing on the area of land that was to be protected as green space. It's actually the whole of the area that you would, and the residents would want to see kept as green space. I think that's what you're saying. The whole of the redevelopment site.
Yes, you know, we realise that the thing is, the local development plan points out so many other areas that houses can be developed in, and Eyemouth's very well served for that. So why would he think of putting the housing development, which I know has been on the plan since the high school moved there, and we're aware of that, but no one's developed there in that time, and we're wasting a trick with the fact that this could be a developed park. So yes, okay. It is the whole site we're talking about.
Okay. Yep. That's fine. I mean, as I say, my side of things is allocating things in the plan, and then what happens thereafter and decisions made at the council are out with my hands. I mean, I think most people would understand that as a council, if we have assets and we have to build a new school and things like that, we have to look at ways in which we might be able to get money to help go towards new schools and things like that. So there's possibly an element of that came into play way back in the day when it looked at opportunities for developing part of the site. I'm not the expert on that clearly, but I do think that's probably something to do with it. But I hear what you're saying. You made your point very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move along the screen. Christine, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, Mr. Johnston, I was one of the very original people to try and save the space when the high school moved, prior to the high school moving. And we were told categorically at the time that the old Eyemouth High School site would not be sold to pay for the new one. And then that very quickly changed, and it was very underhand. And Berwickshire Housing bought, I believe, 1/10 of the land.
Okay.
It was never put out to tender, and it could have easily gone to other social housing associations. And we kept getting told that the council had to have the best value and all the rest of it. Well, there was none of that that went on. That was completely under. It wasn't open. I'm still very angry that 10 years on plus that we're having the same argument, and there's so many other things for the site, and it's been put in writing umpteen times, things like the extension of the cemetery. The new bit of the cemetery is already filling up. So it seems to me that Scottish Borders Council really don't listen to what people in Eyemouth are saying, and consultation is deplorable. Dixie's quite right that it's not just this letter that's not gone. If you can remember back to a year past September, or almost 2 years ago, when the council came with very expensive models as to what was going to go onto that site. The likes of Dixie and others that I know are in on this meeting that literally border that ground didn't know about the meeting. So it's woeful. And we now have the excuse, and I say excuse because there's all around the world, everyone's having news about to work around COVID. So consultation is vital, and there's no point Scottish Borders Council telling people in Eyemouth what they're going to get. It has to be proper consultation, and the value of that land, it is the only piece of land in the whole of the town that can be used for a public park, and it could be a destination park which will bring in tourists. It will bring in money to the place. Already you have people from Eyemouth going to Coldstream with young families to go to their destination park, and that is a 48-mile round trip. I know that because I used to work there. So why would that need to happen if we could have it here? And I appreciate that it's been on the local plan, but times change. And with that, I got a reply back from one of the councillors that said that basically, oh dear, hard luck, Berwickshire Housing's already got some of that land, so they have to build on it. They don't need to build on that land. They can build in another area of the town of the same amount. I mean, surely that could be it. And if they are going to move the primary towards the high school, then housing out that way is probably makes more sense to have more housing out that way. And there is land, we all know there's land out there. I think with the COVID and that, it's highlighted umpteen different things, particularly the shocking consultation process that Scottish Borders Council have. It's all very well us getting told that things are online if you don't know where to look or how to look. And there are many, many people that don't have that access. With COVID, the emphasis of having good physical and mental health for a population is huge. So anything like a destination park, it's not a generational thing. It's not just for young families. We're talking about for the whole population and wider population, and also for the future. This is not for my benefit. I am genuinely thinking about future generations, as I have done for the last 11 plus years on it. I gave up because I was so fed up of struck my head off a brick wall. And I'm glad that it's not all coming again now. I personally have no issue at all with things getting built on the existing brown site. So, you know, you've got the whole, what do you call it, floor space or whatever, footfall, no, I can't remember, but the whole area where the primary, where the nursery, the primary, and the high school and the annex. Well, the annex really should maybe be more cemetery. But all of that area, you could get significant building on that. There is actually no need to build onto that green space.
Right.
So I really hope.
Do you have anything in response to that?
Yeah, no, well, again, I'm very sorry to hear Christina feels the way she does. I'm genuinely sorry to hear that. I think I have to say, from my side of things, you know, this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not aware of any previous objections from anybody, including the Community Council, from when this first came into the plan in 2011. And you know, throughout preparing the 2011 plan, the 2016 plan, we've had meetings in Eyemouth, and every community council has been consulted. So I must be honest, I'm not aware that there was issues that people were seeing this for the very first time. So I don't know why that should be. What I would say though is that obviously we've got people's objections to the local plan, but as well as that, what I'll do is I'll certainly report back on what people have been saying tonight to those in such at the council to make sure we're all fully aware of what the concerns are, and I'll certainly do that, absolutely. So. I'm hearing what everybody's saying, and I'm taking a note of what they're saying. So I'll probably know more to say on that one, Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
Can I just say right at the very beginning, when the high school moved, I organised meetings, and there was 2 very big meetings in the high school assembly hall. Yeah. And Michael Cook. Yeah. And Councillor Fullerton. Yeah. And that to just name 2 were there, and there was officers from Scottish Borders Council that came down and spoke. So the council definitely have that information. Yeah, most definitely.
Well, I was at these meetings. I'm sure they're the ones that you're talking about. So I do remember them. I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. So
there was definitely objections. You can't say there was no objections. There's definitely objections to that site being sold.
Okay, I think the problem with the whole green site, there's so many different things going on with it and potentially going on with it. It's like spinning plates, you know. SBC is trying to keep the plates all spinning, and, you know, the community don't actually want the plates to be spinning on the stick. So I think the consultation process has left everybody with a better taste in their mouth, and we do need to maybe revisit that before anything additional is changed on the plan or proposed to be changed to the government. Okay. Right, I'm just gonna have to look at this screen. Where am I? Right. And do you want to say anything, or are you okay there? You're on mute. Yeah. Push it.
There?
Aha, there you go.
Okay. Hi, I just wanted to say I can appreciate you saying that you hadn't heard objections as part of the local development plan process previously, but to be quite honest, I think most ordinary residents in Eyemouth out with the community council process aren't going to be aware of what local development plans even are until you start putting a proposal in to then build on sites like the green space. So I think most residents, as was at the demonstration back pre-lockdown last year, were protesting that they wanted to keep that green space because they weren't aware that it was never not going to be green space. A lot of people that weren't involved in the school and the building of the houses and things like that. So I think this opportunity now to look at the local development plan and have it redesignated as green space, so that any future developments, is it my understanding that once it's designated as a green space, it's then harder to change it, to put housing and the likes on it, and then to develop into a destination park from there, I would think would be a good way to go, just like Dixie was saying.
Right, I'll just kind of pop in there. We've got S. Rennick. Hello, I take it you're an SBC officer. Come to join us.
Yeah, James, yeah. Stephen Rennick, Scottish Borders Council Project Manager for the Eyemouth Primary School High School project.
Excellent. Right, we're just having a chat with Colin. Where did Colin go on the screen?
You want me to drop back off the call just now, is it?
No, it's fine. It's just, we're just finishing up with some questions for Colin, who's vanished. Where did he go? Sorry, I'm trying to work this and read down the screen. Okay, we've lost Colin.
Is his name Charles?
Is it Charles?
Charles.
Is it?
I like Charles.
Oh,
Charles.
Right, we've lost Charles. Okay, Sorry, Anne, it doesn't look like you're going to get that answer because he's having some technical difficulties. Right, okay, if we just go straight to Steve Rennick, could you give us a little sort of update on what you were coming to talk to us about? Because
sure, I can, James. Thanks very much for that. Nice to see everybody this evening in Eyemouth. I'm tuning in from Hoyk, from a dining room table. So I'm here tonight to give you an update on the proposal that the council has to re-provide education in Eyemouth, and linked with the earlier work in the last 1 year or so, where we've been looking at options for a replacement primary school. There was a move last year to reconsider the whole education provision. And at the tail end of last year, the council took a report that members approved, which started off a community-based consultation on 3 different types of education models. And that's primarily the staying where we are at the moment in terms of the primary school, and looking to add to that with a new build, or looking to entirely consolidate everything into the existing secondary school. But the third option, and that's the preferred option of officers from both project side and education side, is to look at a campus type of solution, which recognises some of the free space within the existing secondary school, which looks to provide the P6s and P7s, so that's the upper primary elements, with the benefits of that space within the existing secondary school, and then look to build a separate, but on the same site as the secondary school, standalone early years centre, which will be from 2-3s and the nursery level early years up to primary 5s. The process is being taken forward in consultation terms as a citizen space element. So we're launching at some point this week a citizen space consultation, in which we're trying to understand and get views from the community of the educational benefits of that campus solution, our preferred solution. We'll let that run for a period and then follow that up with a formal Education Scotland consultation exercise. And I was hopeful that, James, that I was going to be joined by John Butcher from SBC Education, who is much more familiar with that education consultation process. And if John's on the call, he can talk and come in, but if not, I'm happy to take calls, take questions as much as I can within that particular side. Conclusion of that Education Scotland consultation period, and it has to run for a minimum of 30 teaching days. So we're just trying to understand how we do this informal consultation and then close that down and then do the formal consultation, recognising that we're into April very shortly and need to do that count of the number of teaching days. Would then allow us to draw back the feedback from the community on those educational benefits and present a follow-up report to Scottish Borders Council on the output from that consultation process. And that, hopefully, if everything just continues to proceed on that basis, allows us to proceed with the technical solution to that particular project in terms of the designs and the constructions. But we're not, you're just trying to take one step at a time at the moment. And taking that preferred approach, that revised education arrangement, in which my education colleagues believe there are significant education benefits in looking at a campus solution. So it provides primary 6s and 7s primarily with the access and ability to have advanced access to facilities within the school that they wouldn't normally get in a primary school environment. And the view from an education perspective is that the added value that brings to them means that they make progress in that middle education period much more fluidly, much more swiftly, and much more competently as they work their way through into the upper part of the secondary school education process. It's like, in many ways, what we've opened in Jedburgh Grammar Campus with the all in one building. grammar campus in Jedburgh, where we've got that entire flow through of education provision. This will be, it'll be very close to it, but not exactly like that in Eyemouth. I can see that my colleague Charles Johnson from Scottish Borders Council Planning, the local plan teams joined the call.
My apologies, guys. Sorry, I'm back in. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
All right.
Fine.
Apologise to Anne in particular, who was busy speaking to me. Sorry about that. She can maybe come back on again.
To that.
Yeah.
In a minute, we'll come back to you.
And James, I guess the segue for this double presentation tonight from SBC officers is that in taking this education approach to look for a campus solution in Eyemouth, then that when that project is ultimately delivered, that relinquishes any education interests the council has on the existing LDP site, if I can use that terminology that Charles here to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I think when we had a meeting with Carol and some of the officers about the proposals that are going to be in the consultation, for me and everybody else in the meeting, it was definitely education driven, what you're looking towards, instead of what was initially how to make money and how to make it pay. It's gone from that, and it seems to be shifting in the right direction, and I appreciate that it's moving towards concentrating on education and the kids instead of money, even though money is tight. So I think that's going to be appreciated by a lot of the community in Eyemouth, and just want to recognise that we do see a change there that's appreciated. What I want to do now is jiggity pokety back to Charles there and Anne. Just to finish up there, if Anne can. Anne, do you want to quickly do your question again?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how far is it Charles got up to what I was saying.
I think what you. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't sure if it was me that it disappeared, that it was you, but it was actually me. Yeah, you made the point that whilst perhaps the community council were perhaps aware of the plan and what have you, perhaps those locals perhaps aren't as aware of the local plan process, and they therefore weren't as up to speed as others. Which I understand is one of our great challenges, is how best we can promote the plan, and we're always open to suggestions. And if people have suggestions as to how we can do things better, as I say, we do try, and we've been out to Eyemouth quite a few times over the last years, and we try to promote things the best we can. But if there are better ways we can do it, we're more than happy to listen to people's ideas on that. So again, I'm very sorry for that if that's the opinion.
I think, to be fair, Charles, when we first went as a residents group along to the first community council meeting, I don't know how much the community council, James will probably remember this, were actually aware of it having such an input when developments like this come along as to the local development plan, because it's done like 5 years prior, isn't it? And sometimes you forget, and then a development comes along and you don't realise how much it would then relate to something like the local development plan and green spaces being there, and the importance of keeping them or having them redesignated for the community. It's not till you go and start putting planning permission on these sites, it's then easier to build things on a site that's not designated as green space.
Okay, well, indeed. I mean, the planning world changes periodically. I mean, climate agenda is one of the big things, and there's things changing all the time, and the plan can get a wee bit out of date. What I'm saying is that what's in the plan, we have to use as a starting point. I can't say otherwise. But, you know, as things develop, we are obviously open to hear changes in circumstances and alternative views and what have you. So I accept what you're saying. That's a fair comment.
Okay, doke. Sorry, just shouting at my kids. Right. Did anybody else have questions for Charles there? Because I know that we've got a row of people at the bottom. If anybody wants to ask Charles anything, we've got Tom and Neil. If not, that's fine.
Can I just say one more thing, James? Is that okay? Charles, sorry. what would be really useful in, you know, you can see whether you would think this is a possibility or not. It'd be really useful if you would commit to coming and meeting a few of us up in that green space and talking with us about it. It may be easier than this. This is a forum that it's fine because we have to do it Zoom, but you know, things are, it's beginning to get like we can meet outside and things. If you could give us some of your time and meet a few of us up there, doesn't have to be many people, and we could actually talk this over in an easier situation. And I think he would maybe understand some of the views, because Eyemouth hasn't got a park like other border towns, and this is the point, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm more than happy. I meet people regularly. I speak to people. You know, I'm a public servant. I have no problems doing that at all. But just to be clear, I'm a local planning officer, and I'm no expert on green space supply and demand and what have you. So if I would be happy to come along, but quite clearly I would have to have somebody from the parks team there, somebody who knows about these things. And because at the end of the day, just to be clear, the local plan, although I ultimately prepare it, I'm guided by roads and archaeologists and biodiversity officers and parks officers as well. So when we put forward proposals in the plan, it's as a result of all these other bodies feeding into it. So I mean, I'm more than happy to suggest that to whoever, and you know, I don't have a problem with that at all. Clearly, with a pandemic, you appreciate, I'm not sure when that would be, of course, but as soon as everyone's happy to meet on site and safe to do so, I would be quite happy to make comment on or set something up.
All right, that would be good.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, right. Christine, quickly, and then we want to move on to the next one.
Just a couple of things. Mr. Rennick, with these new school proposals, and if nursery up to primary 5 stay on the existing site, where are you physically planning to build that primary, on the existing brown site, or like the original plans that we had for the campus to go right on to the green site? Because there's plenty brown site.
So apologies if I wasn't clear enough. Apologies in my introduction as I just joined into the call. That the council's preference is to build, and I think I see it this way, an early years centre, but up at the secondary school.
Right. Okay.
So but it won't be joined. It won't physically butt into the existing building. It will sit slightly standalone but within the overall grounds of the secondary school. I think that was where I then went on to say that if we do that, and if that project from an education perspective and from a property perspective it runs through and materialises, then the council's got no education interests in the existing site. That was the comment I was making.
So would the existing primary be renewed then, where it is?
So the existing primary school will be demolished and allow for that area to be developed for a future use.
For what kind of use?
So the council doesn't have a plan at this moment in time of that use, but clearly we would need to just focus in on that within the next 1 to 2 years as we progress, given that we've got a consultation process, and then a design process, a planning and a construction. The actual delivery of that project is 2 to 3 years away from where we are just now.
Because what I'm concerned about is that there was so much money that Scottish Borders have spent preparing plans, 3D models, whatever, for that to happen again before actually properly consulting with everybody locally. And absolutely education, the school needs to be led by the education. I don't have children at the school, I have no say at the moment at all about education in the place, so that needs to be led by education. But maybe what Dix is proposing about having a meeting actually on the site, I think it would be very useful if yourself and Mr. Johnston and somebody from Parks were all able to go, so that you get a more holistic approach to it.
Absolutely fine with that. I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah. And as for consultation, again, one thing that might help is proper advertising around the time. The current the Hippodrome, they've got pictures at the moment of the new harbour plans. To be honest, I find them difficult to understand. But just having big diagrams in a space maybe like the Hippodrome, I'm sure Ian would be quite happy to put them out so that people can physically go and look and have it done easily, because there's many people that do not have internet access or do not know.
If the officers are going to agree to come down and visit, then I think that's a good start to it.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we have Emily's iPhone joining in. I'm wondering if that's going to be the other chap from SBC that we were waiting on. I'm unsure. Hello, Emily's iPhone.
I think John is on Emily's iPhone. Yes, I've just got an email from him.
Stephen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, John.
I'm having real difficulties hearing. I've missed about 3/4 of it, so apologies to everyone. The last thing I picked up, Stephen, was that there's a desire to have a meeting on site. Is that right?
That's correct, John. So the summary is both Chick and I have given an update on where the LDP site is and the school project is from an education perspective, and the launch of the citizen space. I ran through the 3 options and talked about the educational benefits of those. And this last point has been about when we do launch the consultation, accepting that we've got still sort of restriction issues. When we can, a physical presence in the town as much as possible would be an advantage to the community, and going down into Eyemouth at some point as restrictions ease would be helpful.
Yeah, I from my perspective, I think that would be possible after the Easter break, Stephen. My understanding is we'll be a bit freer to do that, because I get the communications on a weekly basis from the government directly. So I think we'll be freer to meet socially distant on a site, particularly if it's outside post-Easter.
Well, I think that would be a good way to move forward then, if we could all agree to, if you want to see about a date that would suit after the Easter break, and just sort of get in there first and book your time slots, get you down here, and let's do it in person.
Okay.
So would we do that through your community council, James? Is that the best way to do
fine.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. James, just as I explained to you when we had a brief discussion before, once the initial phase of the consultation's over and we're making some decisions around about moving forward, we will, if we are moving from the current site, have to do a formal consultation, and I'm sure Stephen's explained that. But it would be preferable from education's point of view, and I know from Stephen's point of view, to move this forward at the earliest opportunity so that we can get a new school for the town. I think it's badly needed.
Yeah, and I think what's clear is some of the previous plans are getting a bit muddled up with the new plan. So we really need to move forward and be firm on what's been offered, and not have people getting confused in conversation and then things get added to the actual plan that's been proposed that aren't actually there.
Yeah,
so
I think if we can, I think if we can meet on site after Easter, and Stephen and I will be in a position to give you a good run through on where we are with the initial consultation on the 3 sites as Stephen's outlined, and where we want to go as a local authority in terms of moving it forward. I think that would be really helpful, and then we can get moving with it, James.
Yep, I think that's an excellent way forward, actually seeing people in person, and then we can get a better handle on it. If you communicate with me and I've got everybody's contact details, I can get in touch with them and tell them when it is going to be. and I'll take care of all the COVID stuff and paperwork, because I know we'll have to have the protocols in place and all the rest of it. So I'll have all that done from our end, and I think that's the best way to move forward. Helen?
Yeah, just depending on numbers and restrictions, James, yeah. I'd really like to be part of that meeting if possible, but clearly I'm not as important as others. So, but if the numbers allow, it would be, I'd like to be included.
Yep.
But I'm down the pecking order, I understand that.
You'll have to push Christine out the road. Right, is everybody happy with that for tonight then? I'm sorry there's been a bit of breakup with the internet, but hey ho, that's modern life. Dixie, go on then, one little one.
Just a quick question. Stephen, just to check, I understand the three options, and I'm really glad that educators and everyone you're talking about are going for one of the options, one of the two options up at the high school site. That's fantastic news for us, certainly. Can I just ask about the consultation? Is it similar to the type of consultation that's been happening in Galashiels for the you know, the Scott Park and policies, etc.? Because that's an online presentation, etc., and it's very understandable when you look at it. But would it be something similar we'd be looking at?
Probably, I'm going to say no. So it's similar in as much as it's online through the council's Citizen Space website. So you in through the council's website, the launch of this consultation takes you through the Citizen Space part of the council's website. The project in Galashiels, because it's so large and got quite a range of issues, Dixie, we had to develop our own website that you get funneled through to from the council's website. The presentation material for Galashiels talks about the whole project and provides videos and images of what it will look like. We're not at that stage with Eyemouth. We don't have that material. John and I's view in our presentation tonight is primarily focusing on those educational benefits, and the Citizen Space forum within the council's website asks you to give your feedback on those education benefits. It's not so much about a property solution, it's more about an education solution.
No, that's fine, thank you, that's answered that. Yep, brilliant.
Okay. Right, for the SBC officers, I forgot to mention at the beginning because you just came in a bit later. We record the meetings and put them online for people. If you're not happy with that, that's fine, I won't. Are you happy to have this put online?
Yeah, absolutely fine, yeah.
Yep,
James,
no issue with that.
Yeah, that's grand, thank you very much. Same goes for anybody else that was late. We do put the meetings online now. Okay, well, we'll say thank you very much to Scottish Borders Council. It's much appreciated for giving up your time, and we'll see you after the Easter break, and we'll let you go back to your families and stuff, and we'll prattle on.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right then. So, is there any questions coming back from that for any of the SBC councillors, or is everybody happy that we're moving forward with the officers coming down? Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Good, I like that. Okay, we're moving on down the agenda. Lucy, you're next for the Treasurer's report, please.
Right. The opening balance was £23,398.15. Expenditures: shop front 6,455, COVID relief work 8833, cash for kids funding 6,500, Bone Hill for the Horty department £449.16, community council £97.86, enhancement group £37.11, total expenditure was £13,627.46. Income: COVID shopping £132 234. Cash for kids funding 6,500. Total income was £6,632.34. Ring-fenced amounts: ACE £1,326.58. Town signage £1,417.94. Memorial Walk £101.30. Shopfront grant £8,997.85. BMX track £1,405.17. Drone Hill funding £920.15. Floral grant £112.39. Community fridge £14.52. COVID £883.96. Donations £566.67. Available to the Community Council £656.50, and the closing balance was £16,403.03.
Thank you very much, well done. And we'll just move straight to the secretary, Lucy.
Oh, I don't know.
Just to keep you on your toes.
Hold on until I get it up. Right. Had an email from a member of the public regarding CCTV in the town. She's saying because so many businesses and private properties are being damaged by youths, police seem to be powerless in managing the situation. Can Eyemouth Community Council access funding for CCTV? Perhaps all business owners could come together on this to ensure all areas are covered. I feel as a community we need to make a stance against this antisocial behaviour and put in measure to protect our town and the businesses.
Okie doke. On the topic of CCTV, I think, was it 2 years ago that we made a noise about wanting to keep the CCTV?
Indeed we did. Indeed
this
we did.
exact thing would happen.
Yeah, it was a council paper brought to council some time ago, and we as the opposition did not want the CCTV to be removed, and that was certainly the result of the public consultation. And I can remember fully my speech to council saying, what is the point of going out to consultation, being told we don't what we want and then ignoring it, which is exactly what happened. And of course we got defeated, as we always do. But I think there are communities who do have their own system in place, and I'm desperately trying to remember the details of that, but it was some time ago. I need to look back over that, because I think there are options to do that if you've got, but I think it's not. I seem to remember Callum Penman, as was Callan Cochrane, talking about that. So I can contact Callan and try and get some details about that if you would like.
I'm not very sure about taking on another project, to be quite honest. We're on borrowed time just now, just keeping things ticking over. So to take on a project that means fundraising, I'm good at getting money in, but I'm not that good at bringing money in that quickly.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things I remember from that debate was the costings that we were presented with in the report seemed huge in comparison with the community system that was in place that Callan Cochrane talked about in the meeting. So I can't remember the exact money, it was so long ago, but I mean, I can get some information from Callan if that would be useful, and it might be something you want to just put on the back burner for the meantime, and something that you might want to take forward at some point. But in terms of the...
We can always forward the information on there, and if she wants to take it up, she can take it up.
I think it is a case of, you know, we're a community council, but every now and again we do need an influx of people who want to see change to actually come on board and make it happen. And right now we're running 7 different projects. We can't take on any more. We're trying to finish up the projects before we all stand down.
Yeah. And it would be another major project, you're right, James. But I mean, if businesses in the town are interested in taking forward some scheme or some system, then I think there is something that they might be able to tap into. But I'd need to do the research on it again.
Would it be better to ask the Chamber of Trade, because they're still running, I believe, and if the shop owners are the ones that specifically are asking for it, which they are, then perhaps taking it to the Chamber of Trade and saying, you know, you're all the shop owners, let's see the shop owners get together and raise that money somehow, because the money is there. We just don't have the time to do it.
James, it's maybe something that we could ask the police about, because at the end of the day, you know, they are the ones that tend to check it, or, you know, go back over the CCTV, and, you know, maybe it would be a good idea for them to come and talk to the community council about it, to see what would be.
But we already know the answer to that, Carol, and that is there's no money to put the CCTV in. That's why they wanted SBC to pay for it.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe there's a way of kind of seeing if we can find some funding. But I mean, we probably have to work with the police to you know, make sure that whatever you've got is going to work.
So is that we, as in yourself as SBC and the police? Or?
I don't know. I think it's probably something that maybe Helen and I can have a discussion about, and have a discussion with the police and see how we move forward.
Would there be money within SBC to push for this kind of thing, to get it off the ground? Because the funding was cut by SBC.
I can't, yeah, and that you're right, it was, and the paper came to council and it was approved. I can't see there being funding coming from SBC for it, because that I can't see that being revisited by the council. But there may be other sources of funding if the community feel that that's something they want to take forward.
Hang on, there's a hand. Piper. Christine, you want to pop in there?
Helen, is there any end of year spending in the council?
I think, Christine, the council's really tied up. You know, there's been a really, you know, I hate to use the COVID excuse again, but you know, it has been, there isn't any kind of loose money, loose change down the back of the sofa, I don't think, that can be tapped into. And as I say, it was a policy decision that was made to get rid of the CCTV. So it was so expensive to replace, but I think there are community schemes that might be cheaper.
A lot of the shops have CCTV in them, but I don't know how that works, if they're allowed to aim them onto the street or not. I'm not sure how that works, but I think it really is a job for maybe the Chamber of Trade, because we take on a lot of things in the town and we can't take everything on, and we did stand up and shout as loud as possible to try and keep the CCTV in, which is, there's not much else we can do on the time we have left.
We did.
Right, if we could gather in that information, the names and stuff, and we'll pass that on to the person who wrote in, and I'll make contact with the Chamber of Trade and ask them if they would be interested in looking into that.
We need somebody to coordinate it if the businesses wanted to do something, yeah.
The Chamber of Trade for a high street, I think they would be the best suited organisation to do it.
Makes sense.
Right, Lucy, is there anything else from your secretary? No. Right, is everybody happy that we move forward like that about the CCTV? Yeah?
Yeah.
You do, okay. Right, chair report. Now, my printer ran out of ink, so I'm going with scribbles on paper, so bear with me. Okay, chair report. Community funding, we have been busy. I know last meeting, we talked about funding from the Cash for Kids and Scottish Government for children or families affected by COVID, which isn't sort of long-term unemployed or anything. It was more about focusing on families of self-employed people and people who have had their hours cut from 30 to 5. there was a real focus with this on going where the urgent need was. And thank you, Morgan, for all your effort. And the ghost behind me, we managed to deliver £6,500 worth of £100. We distributed it around the whole of the borders. I had to get in touch with all the community councils and some councillors to make sure that we weren't stepping on anybody's toes while we were running about their town with money for their residents. So everybody was happy that we went and done deliveries in their area. So Reston, Coburn's Path, where else did we go? Duns, Churnside, Coldstream. Yeah, Coldstream. So we went everywhere, and I was contacted by the people who are running it, and they said that there was a chance for a second go at it if there was anybody else that we could think of, because we had to take recommendations from places like nurseries and schools. We couldn't just pick and choose who we wanted to give the money to. There was a process in place. So because of the short time for the first round, we did miss some. We didn't get all the information in straight away. And people, they don't jump when you see. So some were missed, but we're lucky enough to have a second kick at the ball. And hopefully we should find out this coming week whether we're going to be taking around more £100 per child payments. Morgan?
Yep.
Yep, you're helping deliver.
Yes, yes. So I can tell people that there's nothing wrong and not to be scared when the two people who look like bailiffs turned up. Yeah. Although I prefer Mulder and Scully, I think we did much
Morgan's trench coat and my black coat and jeans didn't go down that well with some of them. We did look like a pair of bailiffs, but...
and the clipboard, you know.
Clipboard, yeah. So anyway, that's good news. That was I quite enjoyed doing that because it got us out the house and meeting new people. So we've not done that for a while and people were appreciative. All right. I think the rest of the things come under the agenda, so that's fine. So we'll go on to subgroup reports. I think we'll start with the ghost in the background with the enhancement group. There you go, you're in the iron throne.
The enhancement group, the main thing from the enhancement group is really our endeavours over the last 2 years in planting daffodils through June to be readily seen. So we're more than happy with what we've been achieving. The other main aspect is we're working up at the horticultural department, and in there we completed the disabled raised beds and hope to have our first participant this coming Wednesday.
Oh, great.
There are also 7 raised beds for nursery groups, and they should be readily available for them after the Easter break.
And the pictures are on the website. I will send out the links. Anything else?
That's all.
Yeah, that's good.
That's not all. He's also bought most of the plants for the planters and his numerous trips to Morrison's out of his own pocket. The millions of trips to water them, and Lucy, you as well, the two of them never stop. Just get on with it. They just don't want to be locked in the house.
No, certainly not.
So there's quite a lot happening there, and I thoroughly enjoyed being out all day in that. Subgroups shop front. We have the tavern windows replaced. So I was quite happy to give Anna a visit to make sure the windows were all done. Good job made and all paid for. So another good outcome. We're still following up with the general store. He's started ripping the front of the shop to bits, and the men are coming back with the bits at some point in the next couple of weeks to start putting it back together. Who else is left? The Cost Cutter's old shop, where the Indian restaurant is. That's painted, and 80% was agreed to pay for that, so we've paid for that. There's another few elements to that agreement, which is blank signage to finish off round the front of the shop. That's not been done yet, so I need to follow up and make sure that that is going to be done, because it is part of the agreement. And if he's not going to finish the job, that money can be allocated to another shop, because we've been given extra time by the Scottish Government. So I'm going to chase that up. But the chap's been really good so far. He's just really struggled with not being able to get workmen, just due to COVID. Another subgroup will go to Davina for the paths, please.
Hi there, hi James. Yeah, I had a walk round, and considering, as I said to you the last time, the bad winter we've had, things are drying up. A wee bit damage left on the path of the loan, and as I told you, with the channel water going down, that's making it a bit awkward to walk up. The first part, you're sort of got this big channel of earth that's been washed away. But you know, I think it'll mend, maybe a wee bit help. I went round the woodland walk, or the memorial walk, today. That's drying up nice. Still a wee bit boggy at the top and further down, but it's been an exceptionally wet winter. A lot of people using it, so obviously the paths are getting quite, but folk are finding other paths to walk, so hopefully it'll be okay when you need to cut it. But yeah, they have had a wee bit of damage to past years, but you know, it's not looking too bad at all. I did get a complaint from a member of the public, and I've, funnily enough, spoke to somebody that had had quite a bad accident due to this problem of weeds coming up through the pavements over on the golf course road, but particularly the one that runs along the top from the avenue, the Nisbet's Tower, and takes you along to the seats and behind the big house into the car park. The eruptions there through the tarmac are really bad. And one lady had been walking and literally took her eye off to look across at the view, which is a lovely view, fell. She's injured her hand really badly. It's been in plaster for weeks. She's been left with serious damage to her hand and her nerve end, and she fell, broke her glasses, cut her face, badly bruised face. Luckily no bones broken in her face, but she's been left quite badly damaged. And then apparently another lady from the end of the avenue has had a bad fall, and again she's in plaster. So, and all because this, and it is, but I've had a few trips, not on that one, but on the one that takes you walking back up towards the allotments on the other side. There's a lot, and it's the, is it the blackthorn trees that have the orange berries? They're particularly bad, apparently, the roots, and they've come right up, and there's an area where you literally have to keep looking down. And just to mention, I said I would bring it up to see if anything can be said to SBC to maybe...
That SBC pavement?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two ladies have both injured their arm quite badly.
Report that, Davina. So where's the exact? So it's at the end of
behind Nisbet's Tower.
Behind Nisbet's Tower.
Yes, and behind John's Road Play Park.
Yeah,
right.
You can walk along hill, and then you get access to the car park at the top.
Okay, I'll go and have a look at it, and I'll get that reported.
Yeah.
Okay, right. The maintenance paths we paid for in advance because we thought we'd all be standing down today. We're paid a year in advance for the cutting and everything of the loan and Memorial Walk. And I've spoken to two contractors who were going to give me a price before today for fixing the bits that are needing topped up. They've just been busy because it's the start of the season. So once they get back to me, we do have the money in the paths budget, as far as I'm aware. Lucy, did we get the £450 paths grant back from SBC yet?
No.
I didn't think I'd seen it. Could you follow that up and get in fact, Helen, could you ask them?
Yeah, paths grant.
Yeah, we've got confirmation that it's going to be paid to us, but we've never had a payment.
Okay.
So once we get the quotes in, I'm not sure I want to wait another month before we fix the paths in case somebody falls on our ones and we're liable. Is everybody happy if we just get together in an email and compare the quotes and decide an email which one, and we can get our paths fixed so nobody falls and breaks themselves on ours? Yeah, we'll do that. That's the best way forward.
And where do you stand on people opening their doors to their property and throwing their grass cuttings onto the loaning? Because that's what we get, James, in one particular area.
Yeah, good point, Davina. Helen, what do we do when the houses backing on to the loaning are dumping all their rubbish and they're weed killing all the path out the back of their house? Now, we maintain it all, but because they continually weed kill it, the soil's all washing away and it's causing a problem further down the path.
At all in that area, it's quite bad. In the winter, there was no grass, so it just was mud and we were slipping and it didn't help the situation. It's just that area through their property down a wee bit, but they've gone literally too far. They've not just done it along the bottom of their hedge, they've went right onto the path.
Right.
Covered a big area.
It's residents throwing their grass cuttings off onto the loaning. Is that?
Yeah, the side of the loaning. Yeah, into the hedge as you walk up. The opposite, they're throwing big. I mean, this is just the start of the season, you know, with cat killing, and I don't know what it's going to look like if they do this on a regular basis. There's a few people. There's a few people actually said it to me as well.
The weed killer is a bigger problem because it's undermining.
Tell me, what was the weed killer issue? So they've
obviously gone out and they've weed killed an area. I've never seen this before in all the years, and I've lived here 36 years in this house and used the loan, and I've never seen anybody come out and weed kill, fair enough, their bit under their hedge and keep it to that, but they've literally gone and literally stepped on the loan and obviously weed killed a fair distance up on the opposite side, quite a bit up the path and down past their property. So there's a big area that's got no grass at all. Plus there's people with dogs go up and down there, but you know, I don't know what kind of weed killer they're using. I think it was at some point in the middle of the summer I noticed it, and then another bit later on. I don't know.
We did have it all in a really good state, but you know,
I don't know. I'm trying to think what the council could do in terms of these issues and whose responsibility
is dumping the ground technically not fly tipping because it's not their land.
Have you been up there, Lucy? Have you been up?
No, I haven't this year at all. I know what you're on about, and I know the bit that the weed kills because I get a lot of my tortoise food from up and down there, and because they weed killed that bit for years, you can't touch it because nothing grows, and if it does grow, it's going to have chemicals in it.
And they seem to come out and do it again regularly, don't they?
It's like just residents taking it upon themselves to weed kill public area.
I think can I just tap into a wee wealth of knowledge there with Christine because she's got her hand up. It's kind of dark there. Christine?
Helen, could maybe somebody from the parks...
You've gone all dark.
Sorry, I've not got a light on. Can somebody maybe from the Parks Department maybe just send out a generic letter to everybody that lives up here? Because maybe the person who's doing it is thinking that they're doing a good thing, like keeping their area tidy and thinking that that's helpful.
Well, they're really tricky because they're throwing all the rubbish over their fence because further down, if you walk up the lane and put rubbish,
I'm just thinking about the weed killer.
Whether they put a sign up or
maybe individual, maybe like a generic letter to everybody that lives up there, and then it won't be seen as being, because Davina, you probably do know who's responsible for it, but it would be difficult to.
Well, Helen, if you could ask around, and then we'll
I'll make some inquiries and see what they come up with, see if there's any solution to that.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we'll look into getting everything repaired. And
okay.
I think the letter might be a good idea. Right, any other subgroups? Do I have any? Don't think we do, we done?
Electricity.
Oh, now we can see you.
Right, we'll move on to the area partnership review. Right, I need to get my right bit of paper here. Sorry. Right, area partnership review. I'm on the group for the review, and a lot of the stuff that we've been putting forward involves the Community Empowerment Act and making the community part of the decision making when it comes to public funding. There's two distinct parts to the review, which is the area partnership meetings themselves and how they run, and the community fund. So the board involved has to rewrite everything, and then it gets put to the SBC officers who jigger it around, and then it gets put to SBC. And we did have a relatively good amount of support until it went to council. So a councillor stated, one of our own, changes to the area partnership and community fund are not an evolution, but a revolution. I'm sure Helen
that was aimed at me, as I remember, James. I think that was aimed at me.
Yes. Well, I think
I'm going to call myself Helen Guevara from now on. I'm a revolutionary.
Well, I'll join you in the revolution, because let's face it, people only revolt against dictatorships. We put forward plans that meant the community and the voices in the community all got heard and all had a say. So if people revolt against dictatorships, what does that say about SBC at the moment? That is the question. The public are disproportionately affected in varying degrees depending on their social status by the negative outcomes of the SBC decisions. Is it not time to move forward with the community? And I think this should be put in writing to SBC and the councillors who like to make the comments which totally disrespect the hard work of many people in their free time who have tried to make the voices of the community heard. This is a continual problem with every single thing that we engage with SBC. It's a continual battle. And the time, I'm afraid, if they want a revolution, they can have one. So I'll be writing a letter about that. That's my moan for today. No names mentioned. I'm not good. Okie doke. Where else was I? Sorry, back to my agenda. Okay, the SBCCN. Now, this is linked to the Area Partnership Review because Colin and myself, for the last 4 years, have been pushing for the Community Empowerment Act to be the legislation that SBC work from. Which, if they did so, people like Dixie, when they say jump, SBC would have to say, oh, well, how high would you like? That's missing because they go with a different bit of the legislation, 73 Act. So while people were mumbling about revolutions, in the Scottish Parliament, Colin McGrath had sent a letter to engage with all the MSPs on the Community Empowerment Act and the parts of the Act that still need enacted. And Christine Graham, MSP, was good enough to raise all the points for us. And the MSPs in Parliament agreed that Colin McGrath, in contradiction to SBC saying he is wrong, he is in fact correct on the points he raised to the Scottish Parliament, which would mean Scottish Borders Council are in the wrong. So that will be a point that we will be pushing in the next month. Unfortunately for everybody concerned, we're having to stay on a bit longer, so we still fight the good fight. So Scottish Borders Community Council Network, they're looking for a new rep around the area. So if you know anybody in another town who's interested in making sure that the community have their voices heard, we're all linked in now. We need new members from around the area, Berwickshire, East Berwickshire, any town, anybody that's interested and has a loud voice. All right, now, just moving on, give us a second. Did we do the BMX track? Sorry.
No.
BMX track, okay. I've missed a page. Right, BMX track, almost done. We need a sign, so I'm going to ask everybody if they would approve spending some money on the sign, because we need signs for health and safety reasons. And once the signs for health and safety and all that stuff are up, and I have finished writing the COVID risk assessments to go along with the normal risk assessments, then we'll be able to say to the public, it is open and you can now go on it and not complain that it's skiddy.
Good work. That's been a long time coming, James. Well, you know, you've plugged on with that and got it in the end.
The bane of my existence, that thing. Flooding and then COVID, I tell you. So if everybody's happy, no objections to the signage? No, good. Right. Oh, community fridge. We've arranged, well, the ghost in the background, John William, has arranged for the training for the community fridge volunteers. We normally do it in the community centre and keep up to date, but obviously locked in the house. So we'll be taking care of that, and we'll be working with Reston and Auchincraw Community Larder to deliver that. Ride on More training, new volunteers for that as well. We have skipped a year of training, but we didn't have new volunteers. So this year we have new volunteers for that. So we're going to do training, and we're going to bring up to date all the paperwork, risk assessments and COVID risk assessments as required. And that'll be in the next 2 weeks, hopefully. Community woodland. We've got the loggers coming in. I'm meeting some on Tuesday and some on Friday. So the thinning of the woodland will begin, already has. So that's going to move along, hopefully swiftly. I think the people hope that it's going to go quickly, but things never really go to plan. Anything else? Right, skate park, the social media, honestly. Right, the skate park. Initially, we were asked to do 2 projects, a BMX track and a skate park. So we decided to do this BMX track because that was easy. We knew it would be the smaller of the projects and the more deliverable. So that's what we went with. But the reason behind going with the smaller one was to make sure the community could actually get together and get behind a project to help deliver it. Because the BMX dirt track was about getting the kids involved in creating something themselves and then taking ownership. That was the whole premise of it. We had to work with the school, get them involved. And we done that, but obviously we had a flood and then COVID. So, hang on, I have to catch up here. Change my page. So we just need to acknowledge the support we've had for the BMX track to highlight how much support the town does give projects. We've had DR Cullen, Wally Gray, Eyemouth High School, Reston Community Council, Chris Inglis Gardening, SBC, we got money from SBC, Kenny Smith, Jacopazzi's, Eyemouth Harbour Trust, Flanagan's, Gillespie's Builders, and there was a couple other funders in there that I've lost the paperwork for. It's in a cupboard somewhere. So we can get the support for money, for funding, for things where people are busy and they can feel like we've given you something and they've played their part. The SBC line. The problem is we haven't had a whole influx of hands-on people. It's the hands-on, getting dirty, on your hands and knees when things go wrong, sitting in the digger, following a plate vibrator around a field for hours on end. It's that part that's missing. And the skate park is going to be a project that's 10 times the size of the BMX track. The work involved is absolutely huge. The £10,000 for the public consultation, it's not a consultation, Morgan, what was it?
Feasibility study.
A what, sorry?
Feasibility study.
Feasibility study. There's £10,000 allocated. That money is still with the Scottish Government. It has been said that we have spent the money, but we have never claimed the money. So the £10,000 still sits with the Scottish Government, and that's for the skate park, which is a totally different project to the BMX track. What's needed, if anybody's going to move forward with a skate park, is for the people in the town who are hands-on to come out the woodwork and actually help, to step forward and get their hands dirty, because we've got a really good group of people who get involved. We really do. But what we don't have is a huge group of people who are interested in BMX and in skateboarding. And that limits how much help you can get from within the community. So that's one of the main things. We're not going to be around long enough to the skate park, but it is something we can have sitting there for the next lot that take over. There's no reason why that can't be a singular project that the next community council can deliver. So hopefully it'll all still be sitting there ready to go. Right, moving on. Might get to bed tonight. Any questions from the public? No? Andrew looks like he's going to fall asleep there.
Can I just read something, James?
Yes, Helen?
Just to let you know, and you probably already know, but you did mention earlier about fundraising. There is some OU training for communities. It's free, and there's a whole raft of things: digital skills, community and society, finance and fundraising, business skills, and so on. And it's just, I'm raising it with all the community councils that I'm attending at the minute, which are not all happening, but I think it's a good opportunity for anybody that's interested, that wants to kind of develop their skills from community councils or community groups. It's an OU course. So I can send you the link if you're, and you can put that on the minutes if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I'll put it on the website. What we're really looking for is the food hygiene training with the certificates and the first aid courses that are free.
All right. Don't know if that's doesn't.
We need the refreshers for the first aid courses for the people on the ride on mower.
Okay.
So if you see anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, Helen, have you got anything else for us tonight?
No, that was all.
Easy, Ozzy. Carol, have you got anything for us? I don't know if she's there.
Yeah, I'm here. Not at the moment, not at the moment, James, but I can forward you anything that I do.
Okay.
52,500 people in the borders have had their vaccine now, and they're now rolling out the 50 to 59 year age group. So those people in that age group will be getting their letters soon.
I'm still too young.
Just a bairn.
Morgan?
On the vaccines, the unpaid carers in the borders who are not in receipt of carers allowance, if they're in receipt of carers allowance, they should have already received notification. Yeah. Unpaid carers who are in direct facing with somebody, so if you're providing emotional support over the phone, it doesn't count. Vaccination Scotland has a national helpline, and you register and they send you your appointment for your vaccine, because that opened 3 Mondays ago. Unfortunately, there's been a gap between an unpaid carer who is under the age of 18, so 16 and 17-year-olds. 16 and 17-year-old unpaid carers are entitled to the vaccine, and they should be taking place at the same time as all the other unpaid carers, but the two parts didn't meet. NHS Borders said it was Vaccination Scotland, and Vaccination Scotland said it was NHS Borders. NHS Borders have realised that it is them, but they're really starting from scratch. So that hasn't happened yet, and the system by which those appointments get the 16 and 17-year-olds hasn't occurred, because they don't get vaccinated in the vaccine clinics. My son, who's 16, had a flu vaccine as an unpaid carer, and he had to have nasal one, and he had to go to the GP's office, even though the flu vaccines were happening at the church. I am on this, and we think everybody's agreed it should be happening, but the system isn't picking people up yet. So if any of you are aware of unpaid carers who haven't applied for their vaccine, they need to go to the website and register, and they get an appointment through by text quite quickly. But if anybody is aware of unpaid carers who are 16 or 17, we still don't have the information yet on how they're going to get their vaccines.
Is that the thing you shared on Facebook? Did you share that link?
Yes, I shared the link. And if you just put in Vaccination Scotland unpaid carers, you'll get the link to the online register. And it's a really simple, it's a good system. It works really well. I had my son registered within 5 minutes of them opening to then receive an email saying, we don't do it, NHS Borders does. And then NHS Borders sending a letter to the MSP's office saying, Vaccination Scotland do it. And it's just that the vaccination effort has been so huge and so fast, and they've done so brilliantly. But obviously, there's just little grey areas. There's not that many unpaid carers who are 16 or 17 years old, but they are entitled to the vaccine. And as soon as I find out how that has melded together, I'll let you all know, but you might know other people in that situation.
Right, thank you very much. Right, is that us for tonight? I think so. Right, thank you, members of the public, for coming along and for your input. Thank you very much, councillors, and thank you very much, Mama.
Right. Take care, everybody.
See you later.
Thank you, James.
Bye.
Thank you, James.
Tomorrow, Chris.
Yeah. No.